Welcome back to the fourth episode of Cleveland Sports Realm. I am Kevin Sugar. I'm actually joined alongside a replacement anchor, kind of, and this is my lovely girlfriend, Alexandria.
Oh,
Alex, how are we doing?
I'm good.
Good. Yeah, Jerome couldn't join us tonight due to some personal reasons. He can share or not share with you next week. But, yeah. So let's just kind of dive into this, Alex. So actually, before we get started on the sports talk, we saw Wicked this weekend.
We did.
And
yeah.
Say it.
It's one of my desert island movies now.
It's top 5 movie of yours of all time.
Yes. And
Okay.
I've never seen the play. So I had no expectations, no knowledge obviously, the premise of Wicked.
Sure.
But I didn't understand the whole thing. And now I got the theories for part 2.
Yeah, which you're not going to share any of the theories right now.
That's
because
fine.
we don't want any of our listeners to maybe get ideas and try to predict. We want their own theories and them to kind of have the shock factor that comes along with the second or third act of the play and of the movie.
Well, yeah. Now I want to read the book.
Yeah, that's up to you. I'm not going to read the book.
You hate reading.
I'm not a big reading guy. I like to watch entertainment. I don't want to read about it. I'll read about it if I want a recap, I guess, or a preview. But I grew up a pretty huge Wicked fan, surprisingly. My mom always used to play the soundtrack in the car on the way to school and, on the way to different places. And so I knew all the songs before I even went to see the movie or see the play, excuse me. Love the play. I've seen it probably 4 or 5 times now.
We've seen the movie now twice.
We have seen the movie twice. Once in Dolby Atmos and one in 3D. If I were to pick one, I'd recommend going to see it in Dolby Atmos 100%.
3D was fine.
It was cool.
It's just not as 3D as I thought it was going to be.
Well, I would say they did the 3D more for depth, not to pop out at you.
Correct, which I understood.
I liked it more. Actually,
see, I didn't.
I don't like when stuff's popping out at me. I kind of like the depth feature of it.
I was expecting some flying monkeys to fly towards my face, scare me, and I didn't have any of that.
It's not a horror movie. There's no reason to be scared.
I know, but it's like going to a haunted house. You go for the thrill.
You also go to get scared.
True.
So it's not like going to a haunted house. It's not like going to a haunted house at all. Yeah, going to a haunted house at all. Jeez, if I could get some English going.
But I will say I cannot stop talking about it. I've talked about it to my students. I talked about it to my coworkers. I cannot. And I have not stopped listening. I haven't listened to anything but the soundtrack since we've seen the movie.
Yeah, they did a good job with it.
Ariana Grande crushed it.
Yeah, she did a phenomenal job as Glinda. I think it meant a lot too, from what we were watching, that she kind of grew up idolizing that role and she finally got to play it. So that was cool to see. I thought she did a really good job. I would recommend going to see it if you can even just tolerate musicals. Now, I personally, I'm honestly a fan of musicals. I come by that honestly, and I had a lot of fun with the movie. I think it held true to the actual play. And they had their own little, tweaks, which you can absolutely respect. You don't want it to be too predictable. You would still want to keep some of the loyal fans kind of on their toes at least slightly. So it was a cool experience, and I can't wait for it to come out on streaming or on hard copy, DVD, Blu-ray, whatever it is, so I can own it and turn it on whenever. Yeah, because I had fun with it.
Oh, also one thing to end on that if we stop, it's the fastest 2 hours and 40 minutes ever.
Yeah, it goes by fast. It's pretty. There's not really a dull moment in it. I would say there was that one moment that I was like, okay, they could probably speed it up a little bit, but that was about it.
Yeah, my aunt was asking, she's like, I don't know if I want to see it because it's so long. And I'm like, I promise you, it goes by so quick.
Yeah.
It's great.
Yeah, it was great.
All right.
It was great. Anyways, yeah, let's actually dive into some sports. So the Cleveland Browns absolutely dominated the Steelers last Thursday. A lot of fun to see, and I think a very meaningful win in terms of the season. Obviously, it doesn't look like there's any shot we get into the playoffs, but just in terms of team morale and, just team morale itself, getting kind of Stefanski's mindset back right, I think. And it looks like Jameis can, maybe be a guy for this team that can lead a young rookie next year. It was a lot of fun to watch that game.
It looked like the playoff Browns we watched last year. Like, granted, we're not a playoff team, but
Just fun.
they tried. Like, for once, they
Yes.
actually had effort. Like, I'm not sitting there saying, stop jogging. Like, go for it. Or, well, there's some plays that we kept saying, like, Jameis Winston, who actually tried, and the one when he flipped into the end zone.
Yeah, he lost the battery to his communication set.
Deshaun either would have been sacked and lost 10 yards or would have ran to the sideline and just called it a bit, like walked off the field and be like, hey.
I will say, Deshaun, though, to Deshaun's credit, which he hasn't gotten a lot of it, and deservedly so, but to Deshaun's credit, he ran in a couple touchdowns for us.
Okay, well, he showed no effort.
Okay.
He literally, I hate the guy, based on the fact that he just took his 250 and said, screw it.
Sure.
And I'm over it. And Jameis Winston, my QB1. I'll stand on that.
He's our QB1 right now. I don't think we're going to look at anything different going into next year. Now, I did see a rumor that Barry, Stefanski, and Watson may run it back. I don't believe that in the slightest. I saw that was a rumor on Twitter, or X, as it's now called. I don't think that that's a real possibility.
If you know it didn't work, like, I understand, like, you had to test the waters a little bit because he got injured when he came back and he hadn't played for a few years from Houston, so you kind of gave him the excuse. There's no more excuses. He sucks. He's not worth the $250 million. He played how many games did he play this year? 7?
I believe it was 6.
6? Okay. Addition to his 3 or 4 games from last year?
Played 6 last year as
well.
Okay,
so that's almost a whole season. And he's putting up
it's collectively it's
3-4
22 games that
Yeah.
he's missed over 2 seasons. That's over a year.
So he has shown that he can't do it. So stop forcing something that's not going to work. Because, yes, Stefanski kept saying, like, oh, like, we're going to stick with Deshaun. That was the Haslams talking in his ear. He had to say those things. Not that he wanted to. And you can see it on the sideline. You saw it on Thursday. Granted, it was a fun game. And yes, they did win, but when we were watching, like, Jameis mic'd up, like, those videos, Stefanski was out there, like, actually talking to him, like, enjoyed, like, correcting him, and, like, was actually coaching. It didn't feel like it was a Barry or Haslam running the show, which all the games before felt like, at least for me personally.
Right, yeah, but Barry and Haslam really can't run the show too much with the decision making there, because you're not going to start DTR over Jameis. I mean, They did the one game, or they had him as a backup, I should say, the one game, which unfortunately Deshaun got hurt in.
I'm referring to when Deshaun was playing, though. I'm not saying now. I'm saying that since Deshaun was getting so much hate, but you had to, like, you're paying the guy so much money, so you gotta play him.
Right.
Which Stefanski, I think, knew probably week 2 after the Giants game. We're not playing this. I don't want to.
Yeah, probably. I mean, I think when you look at it collectively as a whole, the first 4 or 5 weeks even told the story. Even if you wanted to exclude the Giants game, which I don't, but even if you did, and you wanted to give it more than a week after that, I think it was pretty obvious from the get-go after that week that Deshaun wasn't the guy. But we don't want to get too sidetracked on Deshaun talk. No, that's all right. That's completely okay. We don't want to get too sidetracked because what's done is done with that, and we'll see what happens in the future with Deshaun. But just going back to that Steelers game, obviously great. Now the Steelers have another divisional game coming up against the Bengals in Cincinnati this week. Do you think this is kind of a prove-it game for the Steelers now? I mean, 8-2. And losing to a 2-8 team, now 3-8 team, and you had your players talking trash. You had your players talking, well, one player specifically, starting fights on the field and then saying what he said in the locker room. Do you think this is a week that the Steelers kind of have to put up and say, like, yeah, like we're a better team than that?
Yeah, because, I mean, obviously the Bengals have been thrown a hard hand too, because their record should be better than it is with the numbers that Joe Burrow is throwing out, Jamar Chase is throwing out. Like, you expect a winning record from the Bengals, and they keep losing heartbreakingly, because the kicking, it's a whole thing. But yeah, no, I think this, if the Steelers lose this Bengals game, they're,
You think they're in trouble?
and they need
Because
to.
they dropped to 8-4. I mean, I'm still not hitting the panic button yet.
No, but I think you can collectively say, like, okay, I can win games, but conference, like, divisional games, because they played the Ravens?
Yeah,
Did they
beat the
win?
Ravens. Yep,
Oh, damn.
that's one team that the Steelers. I shouldn't say one team because the Steelers have obviously had the Browns number over basically since we got back. It's only recently changed over the last 5-6 years. But the one team with having Lamar Jackson that they seem to not, or
struggle.
they seem to play well against constantly is the Baltimore Ravens. I was starting to misspeak there.
This is what's so interesting about the AFC North. Okay, like, you can have a bad team and a good team, and it's still a coin toss on who's going to win. It's all, since I can remember, or like been thoroughly watching football, you're usually splitting those two games. So usually you lose to the Bengals, then beat the Bengals, or vice versa. You lose to the Steelers and then beat the Steelers, or vice versa, or sometimes beat them twice. And then the Ravens, granted, we won that game this year. I don't know how, but it's just, the AFC North is the most unpredictable when it comes to rivalry and divisional games, in my personal opinion. So the Steelers Bengals, it could be a very interesting game.
Yeah, I think that's just divisional games as a whole, though, too, right? Obviously, the AFC North is probably a more physical division than the other divisions that are in football, just with the weather and the run games that a lot of these teams have. But even, going back to Tom Brady being in his Patriot days, it seemed like the Dolphins would always get at least, I shouldn't say at least one game, because it's not like they ever swept the Patriots, I don't think, when Brady was there. But they seem to get a game pretty much here and there on the Patriots.
Yeah, I mean, I'm going to preface, I don't know a lot about outside divisional teams. So like NFC, like all that stuff. Like, I know the teams, but I don't know
the divisions and
I don't know like the history, I guess you could say, of the game. So I guess I'm kind of making a biased opinion based on what I know.
Well, based on that's what you spoke on, though. You spoke on just the AFC North as a whole. So
well, that's why I'm not right. But yeah, like, I guess like what you said, like, if that's a whole, and I don't know, the Steelers Bengals game should be very, very interesting. And then we have the Steelers Browns game in a few weeks too.
Yep.
It's just back to
yeah,
back.
which I'll actually be in Pittsburgh with
yeah.
Jerome for that game. So hopefully the Browns get their first sweep of the Steelers since they've returned. I doubt it, but that'd be really cool.
I think going back, we keep getting sidetracked. Going back, just the snow globe game, the atmosphere, and who said it? I forget, but like the fact that it was snowing, cold, losing team, and it was packed, no one left, shirts off. Like,
The only fans that I know that left were Steeler fans, actually.
Okay, that makes sense.
I have a couple friends that told me they left early, which doesn't make sense because
it wasn't like
they were in the game.
Yeah, it wasn't like they were. This is when I love Browns fans.
Same.
Love them.
Yeah.
I sometimes get annoyed with them, but I love them.
They're the best. Now talking about this game again, do you think Jerry Jeudy had probably his best game as a Brown this game?
Oh, yeah.
6 catches, 85 yards, I believe it was. Had a huge third down conversion on a 3rd and 12 where Jameis was rolling right, threw it over the linebacker, and somehow found Jerry Jeudy to keep the possession alive. Do you think he's kind of proven himself? Granted, it's been since Deshaun Watson has been out that Jerry Jeudy's been kind of putting some weeks together where it looks like, do you think he could possibly be a number 1 receiver?
Well, that's what I was going to say. It's been since Deshaun came out. So
right.
I think if we keep Jameis next year, which, crossing our fingers, we do, then yeah, for sure. Because every QB has their guy. And that 1 week, it was Cedric Tillman, who looked really good.
Yeah, that was Jameis.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Who was Deshaun's guy? I forget.
Deshaun never really had a guy, to be honest with you. I mean, I guess you could say Amari Cooper, but also Amari Cooper was Flacco's guy at the end of the day last year. I would say Deshaun Watson, if you had to say that he had a guy, and this is basically only based off of one game in which he was feeding him, but it would be David Njoku, I would say, was Deshaun Watson's guy. Because if you remember in that Ravens game last year in Baltimore, that game-winning drive, it seemed like he was finding David Njoku. He found him like 2 or 3 times on that drive.
I think he wanted it to be an Amari Cooper guy, but it just never worked. But, yes, I think if Jameis stays QB1, Jerry Jeudy has proved himself. Well, I actually, you know what? I want to give it like another week or two. Based on if he keeps performing like he did for the Steelers, yeah.
Or against the Steelers, you mean?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Put him in, yeah. But if he can be his consistency, you got to ask for.
Yeah, which he has been since Jameis has been in there, going to your point. So,
so
another week or two of this, and you can kind of see where the potential lies between those two as a connection, you know? And Jerry Jeudy, I still kind of see his ceiling as a very, very high-end wide receiver 2, low-end wide receiver 1.
Who'd you say? I'm sorry.
What?
Who'd you say?
Jerry Jeudy.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I think he's a high-end wide receiver 2, low-end wide receiver 1.
Yeah.
I think if he's your wide receiver 1, you can look to upgrade it. And I think if he's your wide receiver 2, you're looking pretty good.
Who's our other one?
Cedric Tillman's been in there. Elijah Moore's been in there. So Jerry Jeudy's our wide receiver 1. I think we can still look to improve the wide receiver 1 position. But at the end of the day, you know, Jerry Jeudy's been playing well. Cedric Tillman's been playing well. Elijah Moore.
He's fine.
He is what he is.
Like, he's there. He's not.
Yeah, he is what he is. I've got no problems with what Elijah Moore's been doing. And
Jerome Ford.
I love Jerome
My
Ford.
Cincy guy.
Yeah, he's your Cincy guy. You love him.
I do.
You absolutely love him.
Well, yeah, he helped us take us to the playoffs.
Yeah, big Cincinnati grad over here.
Yeah.
So
went to the playoff game. It was fun.
Yeah, I'm sure it was a blast. That'd be a lot of fun to go to any playoff game. Granted, alone, you know, at the time it was a 14 playoff. The odds of you going to a playoff game to support your team are very low. So I'm sure that was a very cool experience.
Yeah, playing Alabama.
Yeah, it happens. It happens, but moving right along here. So covered, you know, the Browns-Steelers game, and also kind of previewing the Steelers-Bengals game coming up. Now, another big matchup this week. We've got the Philadelphia Eagles at the Baltimore Ravens, and the Ravens are coming off another pretty great performance against the Chargers. It was the Harbaugh Bowl, and if it wasn't for Quentin Johnston dropping 3 huge passes in the fourth quarter.
Don't even. He was on my fantasy team.
Did you start him?
Yes, I had to. I was so mad.
I don't feel like you have to start Quentin Johnston.
No, because everyone was either hurt or on bye week.
There had to have been somebody on the waiver wire better than that guy. But anyways, that's a topic for a different day. So Ravens are coming off a huge win. Chargers are a good team. And, you know, that's a huge AFC win for the Ravens. Obviously not a huge game in terms of conference standings or divisional standings right now in terms of implications on both teams in the same conference with the Ravens and Eagles. We've got AFC versus NFC. Both, you know, top 3-4 teams in their conferences. Should be a great game. And I don't know if that's a primetime game or not.
It's gotta be.
I don't know if it is. I hope I'll be able to at least watch some of it. But that should be a good showdown. Obviously, we're both going to probably be cheering, or will be cheering, for the Eagles, obviously. But the game is in Baltimore, so I'd say edge goes to the Ravens by a hair.
Yeah, I agree.
But,
I think... Okay.
Yeah, no, you're good. I was going to say, I'd definitely give the Baltimore the edge right now. Just with their defense. I mean, both defenses are great. Both offenses are great. They're just 2 great football teams. It should be a great game. Is there any way that you would be leaning on that one, Alex?
No, I pick Ravens. Obviously, rooting for the Eagles.
Right.
Ravens are just too good. They are just they're unbelievable. I don't know how we beat them, to be honest with you, but who knows?
Any given Sunday is what they say.
I know it's. Yeah, it's 4:25.
Okay, yeah, so we should end up getting that game then.
Yeah, but the Eagles they're not what everyone, I think, expected them to be, which granted, I think had the Kelsey hype a little bit.
I've really gotta disagree with you here. The Eagles are an
Really?
absolutely fantastic football team, and the addition of
Saquon Barkley.
Saquon Barkley has been unbelievable.
Okay.
Absolutely unbelievable. A.J. Brown, Devontae Smith, Jalen Hurts is a great quarterback. Jalen Carter on defense.
Yeah, you just humbled me a little bit. You're right.
The Eagles are a fantastic football team, and they're probably the favorite to come out of the NFC right now, quite frankly.
Seriously?
Who do you got above them?
Detroit.
I think come playoff time, playoff experience,
Or
the Eagles
Vikings.
get the edge. The
No.
Vikings?
Vikings are what?
Oh, my God. You're taking Sam Darnold going into Philadelphia?
You know Sam Darnold's been my... Okay, no. But
That
he's
is
not better
ridiculous.
than Jalen Hurts for sure. I've been on a Sam Darnold kick because fantasy.
Because of the first 4 weeks of fantasy football. She's been like a closet Vikings fan.
No, I'm... My team that I would have to root for in the NFC would be Detroit.
Yeah, Jerome and I have said that too the last couple of weeks. I think a lot of people around the country think that, just with what that fan base has gone through, what that organization has gone through over God knows how long. I think it's hard not to root for that city and for that team. I agree with you. Yeah, so I've got the standings pulled up here. Eagles are the this is divisional. Yeah, Eagles are the 2 seed, Lions 1 seed in the NFC.
Okay. Well, you're right. I forgot about Saquon Barkley. Like, he just
ran for 255 yards.
No, he's crazy.
He's unbelievable.
He's absolutely insane.
And you know what's funny about that? Do you remember when the Giants just let him go, obviously, this offseason,
Yeah.
but do you know what the reasoning? That their GM or their owner had said, we're not paying a running back this much. We're going to pay a quarterback this much.
Yes.
And
they got rid of
their quarterback anyway. So
Well-
they literally let Saquon Barkley walk for absolutely nothing to a divisional rival. What an absolute choke job by the Giants on this whole thing.
Well, you and me and Jerome were talking the other day that obviously it's not a Daniel Jones problem. It's a Giants problem.
Malik Neighbors brought that up
Correct.
in his post game.
Yes.
He said we had these same problems when DJ was at quarterback. I think was his exact phrase.
Little Tommy DeVito.
Yeah, that was Baker.
Yeah,
Baker was doing the DeVito in the end zone.
I saw on Twitter saying the Italian mob's going to come after him now.
Which not to harp on this again, but did you see or you showed me the video of him blocking down the field.
Yes, how he just like
unbelievable. And he showed that same effort here too. It's the same Baker week in and week out. Whether he's going to be good or not, that's a completely different story, but attitude-wise, it's going to be the same Baker week in and week out.
Kind of off topic, but with Baker, did you see he's suing his brother and his dad?
I just found out about this actually at lunch today when we took lunch.
I was talking about it with my coworker today, and he said, do you think that's why he wasn't fully mentally there for the Browns? Because it was during his Browns tenure.
Yeah, but his shoulder injury was as well.
No, that's what I argued that too, because I'm like, well, okay, possibly, but he was playing injured. The Browns just love ruining quarterbacks. And I just think towards the end, Baker was not happy here because they kind of treated him like nothing towards the end.
Yeah, I think a lot of it's on Baker though too. I'm not going to blame it totally on the Browns.
No.
But in terms of that breakup, I'm not going to blame it entirely on the Browns. I mean, I'll blame the Browns all day for the Deshaun Watson stuff, though. It was one of the most mishandled executions of a trade move, probably the biggest misexecution of one in sports history, probably. But the breakup between the Browns and Baker.
Well, Baker didn't handle it right.
Yeah, exactly. There's responsibility held by both sides there, absolutely, and it sucks that it went the way that it did, but we're at where we're at now, and Baker's obviously turned his career around in Tampa, which got to be happy for him because he was nothing but great to the city of Cleveland. You know,
he deserves it.
Yeah, he deserves to. Although I will say, if it got to playoff time, I would root against him just because I don't want the Browns to look like absolute fools. If Baker keeps winning playoff games, I don't want it to be like, oh, everybody's looking at Cleveland again, laughing.
Well, that's what everyone does every year because Cleveland, like they said, Cleveland's Cleveland.
Cleveland's Cleveland,
but it's not.
But sorry,
off topic.
Yeah. So.
Well. I don't know. So then we got Browns Broncos. How do you think that one's gonna go?
Yeah, Browns Broncos Monday Night Football, back-to-back primetime weeks. I'm interested to see how this one's going to be because Bo Nix has had a great rookie year so far for the Denver Broncos, but granted the defense hasn't been as good as it was for the Browns this year.
Yeah.
He's facing an elite group of talent on the defensive side of the football, and I'm interested to see what the Browns do schematically in order to go at the rookie quarterback.
So when we were talking the other day, after the Steelers game, we were looking at the rest of the schedule to see what games could be the next wins. And it was the Broncos or the Dolphins. Now, I'm sticking to what I said. Week 3 after the Giants game, we're going 4-13.
This was her call.
Yeah, I said 4-13. Don't think we're going to do any better than that. So it's going to be one of the two. I don't think we win both. I don't think we lose both. And if I had to put my money, it'd be on the Broncos more than the Dolphins. But you made a good point that Dolphins are in Cleveland.
Right.
Oh, so actually, you know what? I'm going to switch my answer because we're going to be in Denver. I'm going to go we lose this game. Not by much. I think by 3.5.
By 3.5?
Yeah.
You're saying the spread should be Broncos minus 3.5?
Correct.
Okay. Yeah, I'm gonna agree with you. I think that we probably lose this game.
Yeah, it's just Bo Nix.
Well, Bo Nix has had a good year, and the Broncos have played well.
Yeah.
They've exceeded expectations, so it's kind of hard to.
But who knows? We might be on this high right now where we just slide through and keep the momentum going and just do it. Who knows?
Yeah. I apologize for that brief interruption there. We actually just had an unexpected or maybe expected guest just show up here. It looks like Jerome is back in studio. Jerome, welcome back, buddy.
It's good to be back, and I can't thank Alex enough for coming through in a pinch for me. I had to deal with some personal things. No, I didn't. To be honest with you, I fell asleep. My phone died, and I was running a little bit behind today. But nonetheless, it's good to be back with you guys.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. And Alex has done a great job filling in for you so far. We've had a lot of fun. We basically have just kind of wrapped up talking Browns, but I did want to hand it back over to you, Jerome, just to talk about your experience. Jerome was actually working on the field for the Browns during that snowstorm last Thursday. So kind of want to get your take on it, man, kind of get your perspective. How was it down there? Obviously, the atmosphere was probably great. Alex and I weren't at the game, but we did watch it. Now, what was your experience down there?
Well, first of all, I just want to say shout out to the Browns fans. It was an absolute blizzard, and very few people left. I was impressed by that. We know how loyal the Browns fans are, and they do remain undefeated. I don't know if you guys saw Ryan Fitzpatrick shouted them out.
I did see that. It was nice to see him tweet and get some national recognition for the fan base, especially with us being a 2-8 football team, going to be 3-8. So
yeah, absolutely. And like I said, it was pretty awesome with the fans, and people really celebrated that win. We know how much wins against the Steelers mean. It doesn't matter. Doesn't matter the time of the year, time of the season. Wins against the Steelers mean everything to the Browns and their fans. And I'm sure you guys touched on it. Myles Garrett played like a man possessed.
Oh, we did.
Myles Garrett played like an absolute man possessed.
I forgot about that.
Yeah, he absolutely did. He played a phenomenal game, and Alex and I had briefly touched on getting away from sports for 2 seconds, but we had talked about how we had seen Wicked a couple times this past weekend. No one mourns the Wicked, and no one's mourning the Pittsburgh Steelers.
No, absolutely not. Well done. Anyway, shout out to the grounds crew, man, and even Jameis shouted them out at one point. It was pretty crazy how quick the snow came down and how fast it came down. I mean, if you look at it, it was like 10 minutes apart, green grass, everything looking good. 10 minutes later, you couldn't see the field.
Well, you know what's crazy? I was just at my aunt's house, and she lives on Edgewater, so you can see the stadium. And she was watching the game, and she's like, there wasn't a snowflake by my house. But you look across the lake, it just looked like an actual snow globe, which I know they're calling the game.
Right.
But just to see it visually is crazy.
Yeah, absolutely. We haven't had one of those in a long time. Last time was Buffalo in '07, I believe, the game where Dawson hit the game winner.
Yeah.
But again, it was really, really cool, and it was fun. It was fun being down there and working that. And all.
you've kind of become a celebrity
Yeah, you were.
due to this.
Need your autograph.
You have.
Oh,
There's a
no,
couple
no,
sweet
no.
pictures of you. You made it onto the national broadcast. It was awesome, man.
The plain dealer.
Well, I'll tell you guys, it wasn't just me, man. Shout out to the whole grounds crew. Those guys did an outstanding job. Everybody did. Everybody worked hard.
Yeah.
So
We were watching the game. We're like, Jerome.
Yeah. We were really excited to see you, and it was cool, man. You guys did a great job too, keeping those goal lines and end zones for the most part.
cross lines, all that.
Yeah, cross
and-
lines, all that good stuff clear, and it made for good TV too, man.
Yeah, absolutely. And so the big question everybody's been asking, dome or no dome, huh? Some people don't want the dome now because of one snow game, but I know it's hot debate amongst the fans the last week or so.
Yeah, I was always in the retractable roof.
Yeah, that's not going to happen.
It's not going to happen for sure, but I always thought it would be cool, if it got to ridiculous conditions that you could actually close the roof off and you could still play in the elements from time to time. But yeah, I think it's set in stone. I don't think it's worth talking too much about, but I think we're going to be seeing the dome in Brook Park in 5 years.
I don't know. The county is not
It's
supporting
not,
it.
I thought it was the city.
The city too, but it doesn't seem they have county support either.
That's
so
not good. So what are they going to do? Take it to Lorain County?
no,
No,
I have
I mean
no
the other
idea.
option is just keep it where it's at.
Oh, it was, yeah.
I have no idea. I have no idea what's going to happen. It'll be something interesting. We'll all be following the next half decade or so. See what happens.
I do have a question for you, though, because you're obviously in the atmosphere. Do you think this saves Stefanski and Barry's job?
Yes. Yes,
Both
I
of
do.
them, or just one?
I think both are safe from everything I've heard, which it comes from, all the national guys, the Schefters, Rappaports,
Yeah.
Albert Breers of the world, all seem to believe that they will be back. But I still think there's too many games left to say for sure. We know Jimmy Haslam could have a quick trigger sometime with those things.
Yeah, do you think their job is saved as a result of the game, or do you think it's always been no doubt that they were going to be back, though?
The game definitely didn't hurt them. Let's say,
100%.
Yeah, that's pretty
Yeah.
obvious. I don't know. That's a good
I
question.
never thought Stefanski was going to leave, though. I know a lot of people have argued that like, oh, he needs to go. But we've talked about it where it's like he won Coach of the Year twice.
Mm-hmm.
And last year, and you're just going to fire him over one bad year. I mean, that's just... Now, Barry, I understand.
Yeah, but as we've talked about on the podcast in the past, you can't get rid of the GM and make a new GM keep a certain
Yeah, you
coach.
can't.
It just doesn't work
It's
that
called
way
the
in
shotgun
NFL.
marriage, and you can't. If you're going to give a GM some control, he's gonna want to pick his coach. He's going to want to pick the players. Obviously, I mean that is his job.
I
But
get it.
yeah, so you don't want to force a relationship that's not there.
It's just so annoying.
I get it.
Yeah. Like I said, I personally hope he's back. I think he deserves to be back. And if you look at his overall time here, he's won with every quarterback except Deshaun Watson.
Yes and no. Deshaun was a 5-1 starter last year. He was 3-3
4-1.
and well, as a starter 5-1, but in games that he completed 4-1. And
I'll
then in
still
20
give my buddy PJ Walker his flowers for that Colts game.
Sure. And then 2022 obviously he was 3-3 with Deshaun. This was really the only year that he didn't win if you think about it.
Well, if you look overall though, he has had 2 really good years, 2 and then this year's been a disaster.
You talking about Stefanski?
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, 100%. Yeah.
So,
But yeah. So kind of, transitioning, if you guys are okay with transitioning topics, does anybody have anything Browns related they want to contribute more?
No, hey, I was the late guy today. I'm just here, man. You guys tell me. You guys steer the ship.
You got to tell us about the Cavs game.
Oh, absolutely. So, let's talk about the Cavs last week or so.
Yeah, they've only played a couple games since we last talked.
Oh yeah, it's only been 2.
They needed some well-deserved time off, and you saw they were a little bit rusty against Toronto, but boy, they just seem to be better than everybody they play, and they're playing such a cohesive level of basketball as a unit, and that's going to take you places. And then also, I know, shout out to our buddy Kyle, who wanted to make sure that I mention this tonight, and I agree, Ty Jerome, 6th man of the year. How could he not be right now? The guy's playing unbelievable, and who knew? We kept criticizing the Cavs for bringing back the exact same unit, which they did, but Ty Jerome was not healthy last year. So,
right.
I mean, the way he's playing, I mean, he's scoring 20-some a night the last week or so.
I forgot about him.
Yeah.
I genuinely forgot about the guy.
I think most of the city did because he was out the entire last year.
Yeah.
And then he comes back. He's playing this well. So it really, really helps to have another guy who can create his own shot off the bench, not just Karis LeVert, because we know Merrill can hit from downtown, but again, he kind of needs an offense to set him up. He's not going to one-on-one score himself. Karis LeVert, we know, can do that, and who knew that Ty Jerome, floaters in the lane, hitting from downtown, mid-range, everything. I mean, he can do it all.
Yeah, he can do it all, and it's funny what we were expecting more so. This is what we were expecting more so of Karis LeVert this year. It's kind of what we've gotten out of Karis LeVert, although Ty Jerome's efficiency has just been off the charts, though. I don't know if that holds up for the remainder of the year. I think the efficiency will probably dip a little bit, but if he's still setting people up and making the right passes and, fighting for extra rebounds and stuff, I mean, you'll take a little bit less efficiency if he's giving you the hustle stats.
Absolutely, and I'd be remiss if I didn't mention his defense. He's a way better defender than I realized. And again, I think we all, to Alex's point, just forgot about him, forgot about his game. But he couldn't have possibly been this good in Golden State.
No, he wasn't.
I mean, there's no way.
State?
Yeah, he played for Golden State for a year.
I didn't know that.
Yeah. So, again, they played the Raptors. They played the Pelicans. Pelicans super short-handed. Literally needed a guard. Signed Alfred Payton like 12 hours before and started him that night. Cavs had a bunch of guys out that night. They still won by a significant margin. And we finally got to see our first Jalen Tyson action last Wednesday, and it went pretty well.
Yeah, he played well. It was funny when Jalen Tyson came in, they had asked him, who he modeled his game after and who he wanted to play like. And the first person he said was Josh Hart, which is kind of the exact player that you got that night. Mm-hmm. He gave you the efficient shooting, the smart plays, I should say. The smart plays and hustle plays is what I'll say about Josh Hart. Just a smart player, makes the right play just about every time down the court, and he hustles, and that's what Jalen Tyson gave you. And if that's the player we're going to get, then that's the player I'll accept all day.
Absolutely. And they didn't play him much against the Raptors, but he still did get a little bit of run. And, if he continues to prove himself in his small spots and small chances he's getting, you're only giving Kenny more trust and more reason to play you regularly, and that might not be a bad thing.
Yeah, I don't think it's a bad thing at all. Okay. Yeah, I don't think it's a bad thing at all, and I think it's absolutely absurd. I just saw a recent power ranking come out. I believe it was from NBA or ESPN, or NBA on ESPN maybe, but they have the Celtics as the number 1 ranked team in the league.
Horrible.
Which is absurd. I understand that the Cavs lost to them, but the Cavs then went on to win by 20+ and then 10+. And I just don't get how, one game that you lose and you lose it by 3 points, it's not like you got blown out in it.
I was going to say, you were missing key players, and poor Dare Bear, horrible job.
Darius Garland.
3 for 21.
He was brutal that game.
So if you think about Dare Bear having a great game.
Darius Garland.
Sorry, I call him Dare Bear. And you have all the other key players that you needed, like Karis LeVert was out, Care Bear. Who else was out?
Dean Wade was Isaac
out.
Okoro.
Yep. Okay, so we should have. Granted, I thought we were going to lose to the Celtics no matter what.
A lot of. But
if you look at our comeback, losing by 3, and you have all those key players in the rotation, we should have won that game.
Well, yeah, and it just gives you a lot of hope that the team can overcome just about anything because that's obviously the defending NBA champions right there, and you got to give them the respect where respect is due. So, yeah, and the Cavs played tough, and like you said, Alex, they were missing some key players. I think obviously if Darius Garland can get 2 more shots to go in, if he shoots 5 of 21 from the field, I think we probably win that game. But yeah. It is what it is. It's 1 loss in 18 games. I'm not going to look back and harp on it too much. And, I mean, they came back. They literally came back 2 straight games and just won right after.
Well,
so
absolutely, and they have a chance this Sunday. They host Boston Sunday at 6 o'clock, so we'll absolutely have our eyes peeled on that one, and we'll react to it next week on next week's pod. But, again, I'd like to see them beat Boston at home.
So would I.
Let everybody know, because it's not going to look good if you have – it doesn't matter how many games you win, but both your losses are Boston. People nationally are going to say, well, they can't beat Boston.
I was just going to say
you don't want that narrative running. It doesn't look good.
Okay, well, no, I agree. I'm thinking about the Jason Tatum dirty playing.
Oh, yeah, we touched on that last week.
Makes me so mad.
Also,
the arm bars that he does and stuff. Yeah.
Right, the arm bar, and the Cavs lose by 3. And if you look at the end of the third quarter, your arm bar steps back, travels, hits a 3-pointer. There's your game. And I talked about that last week.
Yeah, there's a lot of, I mean, yes, you're right. The refs definitely missed a call. There's obviously stuff that the Cavs can do on their end in those games to, maybe 1 or 2 less turnovers, you win the game, so.
I'm just thinking, like, if it's going to be the same thing on Sunday. I really hope not.
Well, I think you naturally would expect things to get better, because as much as I criticize the guy, Isaac Okoro's defense will be back. Karis LeVert's scoring ability. Dean Wade still didn't play on Sunday. I don't know what his status is for tomorrow night.
He's a big player in these games, too.
Absolutely. So you have a home and home with Atlanta. You have tomorrow night at home, and then Friday you go down to Atlanta for a matinee game at 2:30, which is a NBA Cup game, and then Sunday you're home against Boston. But again, so go beat Atlanta twice. You're significantly better than them. Go beat them and go into that Boston game at 19-1, and you'll be ready to play, hopefully, and beat them this time, because that's a big game. And nationally, a lot of people will have their eyes tuned to that one again, and you got to prove you can beat them. I know it's only the regular season, but to me, Sunday night's huge.
It is, because you've proved that you can hang with them now, right? You've proved you can hang with them. Now can you just get over that hump and actually outscore them?
I have a question.
Yeah.
How many times do we play Boston?
4.
3 or 4.
Okay.
I think it's 4.
Okay.
I think it's 2. Yeah, 2 in Boston, 2 in Cleveland.
Okay.
Yeah, I believe it's.
So
4.
you're hoping to split. I honestly, even if we went 1-3 in that stretch, it'd be like, okay, we beat them.
Like the playoffs?
No.
No, I'm saying throughout the season.
No, I know. I'm just saying.
Yeah.
No, I think you got to go 2-2. That to me, it's imperative to beat them a couple times in the regular season. You don't want to go in a playoff matchup not beating them, or even only beating them once. To me, the Boston games are imperative.
Yeah. I mean, that's the only team it looks like right now standing in our way of getting to the NBA Finals. I mean, obviously, we're a long season away. We're a long season away. But just based off of what the other teams have showed us, unless the Knicks start to get better, which I do expect them to get better, by the way.
Yeah, they blew out somebody last night. I can't remember, but I know they're starting to round into form, and they're going to be good. They have too much talent there to not be good.
Yeah, exactly. That's exactly. But again, as we touched on last week, West significantly better than the East once again. So Cavs have an easier path than most teams when it comes to just the association as a whole. So hopefully, that they beat who they're supposed to beat. Come out, escape a couple games against some great teams, and hopefully looking at a 60-65 win basketball team. Maybe even more. Who knows?
To me, right now, when I watch games, and I know the Knicks record isn't there, but we just talked about, it will be. To me, you look at the East, Boston, Cleveland, New York, everybody else. And I think there's a significant drop when you get to everybody else. Milwaukee, still too many problems. I don't believe in Doc Rivers. I think the first or second pod I mentioned, I think he's the most overrated coach all time in NBA history.
Yeah.
So I don't buy that. Philadelphia absolutely stinks. We touched on that.
Yep.
I mean, who else is going to jump out? Indiana, I think they're about what they were last year.
I think so too. I think the one team that you never want to overlook though in the East is the Miami Heat. If they sneak in, they're just a veteran led. They play basketball the right way. I'm never a fan of running into the Miami Heat in the playoffs ever. Spoelstra's a great coach. Butler's a great player. Adebayo's a beast in the paint. Hero's a good player. They got a lot of good players. They're just not winning a ton of games right now.
Yeah,
And guys that have proven to play well together too.
I get your point of respecting Miami, but I just don't think the talent's there, and I wouldn't fear him this time around.
All right.
I could be wrong in that. I don't.
I just
fear
wouldn't
the
look.
Heat.
I just wouldn't look past them. If we're a 1 seed and they're an 8 seed, or we're a 2 and they're a 7, I'm not looking past and saying, okay, who do we got in the second round at all?
Okay, fair enough. Yeah, you got to respect them. I mean, like you said, their past playoff performance, but still, I personally don't fear them.
Sure.
Maybe that's me just being biased as a Cavs fan, but it is what it is. Bless you.
Thank you.
But anyway, like I said, Sunday will be big, and then it was good. You know, they're taking care of teams they were supposed to this past week.
Yep.
And they played a lot of games early. They got quite a few days off in a row and got healthy for the most part. And like I said, I'm watching that game on Sunday night, and yeah, the Raptors made it close, and the Cavs, you could tell, were a little bit rusty because they had gone 5 days without game action. And you just saw the entire time, at least for me watching that game, as much as Toronto made runs, they cut it to 3, they cut it to 2. You just always knew the Cavs were the better team. And it's so fun to say that about the Cavs and see them play this way.
I heard they played like really, really well together. Like the ball movement was great, the offense was great, the defense was great. Like it looked like a team that knew
very
how to
cohesive, and
Yeah.
that's how
together.
I mentioned that off the top of the Cavs stuff. The cohesiveness the entire season has been top notch.
Well, I think obviously that's obviously a huge credit to Kenny Atkinson. You know what? This team reminds me a lot of that 2014 to 2015 Warriors team where they had a lot of young talent, but they just had the wrong coach. They got Steve Kerr in there, and then just something clicked, and then they went to the NBA Finals, won an NBA Finals, and then won 73 games the next year.
Right.
Like it's just kind of what it reminds me of right now. This team's special, and I'm looking forward to seeing what their ceiling is this year for sure.
Absolutely. Well, let's continue moving right along here, huh? A little bit of
let's do
college
it.
football.
All right.
And the Ohio State University lets everybody know that they are still them. They still got it. And boy, was that great to see them just dominate Indiana. But again, what I keep noticing about this Ohio State team, and it's going to come back to bite them at some point, they are such slow starters, though, man. They really don't get it going until the second half. They got it going in the second quarter against Indiana. The special teams were huge. Punt return touchdown. Indiana dropping a punt, setting up an easy Buckeye touchdown. And that's how Ohio State was able to pull ahead.
Their momentum.
And pretty much end up dominating that game.
Yeah, absolutely. It really did come down to 2 plays that kind of switched the game. I think Ohio State pulls it off regardless, but those were the 2 that momentum just completely – the wins were taken out of the Hoosier sails, essentially.
Absolutely.
It started off strong for Indiana,
Yeah.
right away.
They played
Oh,
well.
yeah. And like I said, watching these guys all year, they are slow starters, and they've got to start playing 4 quarters because you start playing some of these better teams, and I know that's kind of wild to say because they just played number 5 in the country, but I'm talking like teams with proven playoff success, the Georgias of the world, and Oregon's, Alabama, all that kind of stuff. But they have to start playing 4 quarters because you can't keep relying on having dominating second halves like they are.
Well, that leads into my question of, is this going to hurt them in the playoffs then if they are not all 4 quarter team?
Well, I sure as hell hope not, but I mean, it absolutely could, to your point.
Because you said last week they're going to win the championship.
Yeah, and I still believe that because I believe they are the most talented team in the country. They now have 2 top 5 wins, okay, and their only loss all year is on the road by 1 to the number 1 team in the country. I mean, if you're going to lose a game, Not that you ever want to lose a game, but that's the way to do it. And I think hearing a lot of the Ryan Day stuff and what he's saying, boy, he's taken the last whole year personally, how much hate and crap he's gotten. And it's really good to see. And he said today, him never beating Michigan is like one of the most tragic events in his life besides his own father's passing. That attitude right there, the Buckeyes might win by 50 on Saturday.
Well, Michigan's not that great.
It's
either.
still, well, I mean, even going back to those Denard Robinson days, granted, different era, the game, Ohio State, Michigan, it just kind of means more between those two teams, between the players itself. So we saw a lot of those Denard Robinson teams hold their own with a number 2 in the country, Ohio State. It's a battle. It's what it is. You know, the records speak for itself. So
the rankings too.
Well, obviously the rankings speak for itself, but I mean that's what I'm saying. Like 7-4 versus 11-0 in a type of game like this, or a 6-5 versus 10-2. You get the point. It's just a big rivalry. We see Auburn upset Alabama all the time randomly when they're not expected to. It's just one of those rivalries. And same thing with even like this rivalry goes under the radar too. Like Notre Dame, USC, they tend to flip-flop every year, even though Notre Dame tends to be higher in the standings every year or most years.
Yeah.
So, you know, those big rivalries, the game just means more for those players. They play harder, they play tougher, they play smarter. So I'm still expecting a relatively close game, still expect Ohio State to pull it out this Saturday, but I'm still expecting to watch a good football game.
Well, I am going to go ahead and make a bold prediction that Ohio State wins by 21 or more. And the reason why, everything you say is totally valid about rivalry games and the back and forth and the pendulum swinging and all that. But Ohio State has lost 3 in a row. Ryan Day personally has never beaten them. And I think with Michigan being bad this year, it all is just going to come crashing down. The game's at the Horseshoe. I just see Ohio State asserting their dominance, and I can't wait to watch it. Buckeye fans, it feels like it's been 100 years since we beat the Wolverines. I can't wait to watch utter domination on Saturday. I believe I'm guaranteeing it.
No,
You're guaranteeing an Ohio State win?
I'm guaranteeing an Ohio State win for sure.
Like Kevin guaranteed a Browns win?
Against the Saints,
but
I did.
I'll tell you, it's a lot easier, and I could sleep a lot better at night guaranteeing a win for the number 2 team in the country.
By 21 points.
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
I'm guaranteeing a 21 or more point victory for the Ohio State Buckeyes.
You should have just kept it at a guaranteed win.
Nope.
21 points. Okay.
Yep.
Man.
I'm excited now.
I'll mentally log that.
Yeah, absolutely. Week. And go ahead and on the comments if you guys want to tell me I'm crazy, whatever, in the podcast. You know, go ahead. The Twitter's open.
We have a lot of Ohio State fans that listen to us. I'm sure a lot of them are going to be in your boat on this one.
I'm just not a big Ohio State person.
Well, yeah, I know. I host the podcast with a Notre Dame fan, and the new co-host here is also by no means a Buckeye honk.
Cincinnati Bearcats, which they suck. So, I got nothing to say about that. So.
Right.
But no, I can't wait for Saturday, and Indiana kind of they talked a little trash going in. Good for them. I mean, this is the first time they've been good.
Yeah, they have confidence
forever. I was talking to my dad about it, and I go, this is the first time I remember Indiana being good in my lifetime at football. And he goes, I'm a lot older than you. This is the first time I remember Indiana being good in my life at football.
It is a fun story. I'm glad that because the rankings just dropped, obviously, tonight, and I'm glad they didn't drop them too far. They only dropped them to 10. So they're still looking at a very real possibility of being in the playoffs.
They're pretty.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, and they should. With a 12-team playoff, your only loss is to number 2 on the road. A proven powerhouse who's been good for as long as we've been around.
Yeah, and a part of the reason wasn't even because, obviously, Ohio State was more talented. That's not what I'm saying. But obviously, a part of the reason was just due to their own errors.
Yes. You can't drop a punt in that game.
Yeah.
And as great as the punt return touchdown was by the Buckeyes, I mean, somebody's got to tackle him there. I mean, he's making spin moves, juke moves. Sure. Somebody's got to be able to get his butt on the ground.
Yeah.
With the rankings, can we talk about Alabama's downfall?
Well, Alabama's downfall only went down to 13.
That's okay.
So they're still looking at
No.
a reasonable chance. And I know Alabama was my pick last week when we asked gun to your head who's winning the Natty because I thought they were going to get there. I've been bad on predictions on this.
I looked at Kevin. I'm like, you're 0 for 2, buddy.
Yeah, I'm 0 for 2 right now. I guarantee the Browns win in New Orleans, and I picked Alabama to win it all last week, and they proceeded to get smoked by the Oklahoma Sooners. So either way, but they're ranked 13. There is I shouldn't say very, very good chance because the best that they can finish is 9-3.
I know.
There is a real possibility that we're seeing Alabama still in the playoffs sneaking in, though.
I hate Alabama.
Everybody outside of Alabama hates them.
I pray.
I
pray on
disagree
their
with that.
downfall.
The same people who root for the Yankees, Lakers, Dallas Cowboys, Duke basketball, they root for Alabama football. There's that collective
The
group
bandwagon?
of people. And there's
Yeah,
that
the
collective
bandwagon
group
group.
of people in the country. And that's just who they are. And they'll tell you, oh, yeah, I'm an Alabama fan,
Yeah,
Dallas
no.
Cowboys, Lakers, and then springtime Yankees. There are but no, I get what you guys are saying. Like, absolutely. There are a lot of people up north where we come from especially hate Alabama.
Now, this isn't like I say their downfall because this is bad for Alabama.
Oh, this is horrible.
Yeah. So
yeah.
this
There's people that are going to want Kalen DeBoer fired.
This is to,
I
this
was
is to
thinking
me
about that.
their downfall. So yes, are they going to probably make it in the playoffs? Of course, it's Alabama. They're always going to probably make the playoffs. But to see them get smoked by Oklahoma like that, and to be at 13, where people like Bree, for example, she went to Alabama. She's crying. She's upset.
Your friend.
Yes, my friend Bree. She's like, this is just horrible. I'm texting her and be like, ha 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 ha, because like I cannot. Alabama bothers me. So sitting at 13, I'll take it.
Well, are they going to get in with 3 losses? Like,
I think they can, man. I'm not even kidding you. I think
But
they can.
It's
Here's the
Alabama,
thing.
they're going
to your point, the Iron Bowl, the pendulum swings there too sometimes.
100%.
I'm so excited
And
for that
so,
game.
Obviously, if Alabama loses, they're done. There's no shot they get in, obviously.
well, I'm just going to come. I came in late, but I'm going to come in with hot takes. The Auburn Tigers are taking them down on Saturday.
Oh, I agree with you, Jerome.
Okay.
The Auburn Tigers are beating Bama.
Yes,
and Ohio
they
State's
are.
winning by 3+ touchdowns.
That's right.
This is what I mean when I say that you predict with your heart. This is what I'm saying.
No. I'm telling you, Auburn will beat Alabama.
Actually, where
And-
is that game?
I think it's at.
Is it in Auburn?
I-
If it's in Auburn, you might be onto
Oh,
something here.
Jerome.
Yes.
Kevin's hot take that he said the other day, which he didn't mention today, is
It's in Alabama.
Okay, so it's a Bryant Denny. Doesn't matter. Tigers are coming in. They're
That's
winning.
bold.
That's my bold prediction of the week. Take it to the bank. Auburn Tigers will win. They're not going to win by a lot by any means. I'm not giving them the
You're just taking straight money line.
Auburn Tigers. Yes, sir.
Is the Steelers rivalry mean more than the OSU Michigan rivalry, you think?
To who?
Whoa.
Cleveland people. Well, that was your take.
Yeah, it was. I haven't said it this episode yet, but
Well, we were talking about
yeah, the
last night.
Steelers rivalry, in my opinion, means more to the city of Cleveland than the Michigan rivalry means to the state of Ohio.
I don't. That's tough.
To Cleveland? You got to think of just Cleveland.
Yeah,
I
to
agree.
just Cleveland, I'll agree. But to the state of Ohio, no way. There's
don't know.
no way.
I don't know. I don't know if you're seeing a 2-8 Ohio State team beat Michigan
Have you been?
and the stadium's going nuts like
okay,
that.
but have
I
you
don't
been
think
to
so.
an Ohio State game in Columbus?
I don't think anybody here has been to one where
I
they've
have.
been. You gotta let me finish.
Sorry.
I don't think anybody here has been to an Ohio State game where they've had a bad year though,
I know, but those fans are crazy.
The last
because they're 10-2.
the last
every
bad year
10-2
was
or
under
better.
Fickle. They were 6-6. That was the last bad year.
Yeah,
Yeah,
that's my point.
No, I know. I'm just.
I mean, listen, because there's a lot of people in the state of Ohio who care so much about the Buckeyes and could give a crap less about the Browns. But right where we are, right in the heart of the city of Cleveland, oh yeah, there's plenty of people who love the Browns. You two are prime examples. Love the Browns. You guys don't care what Ohio State does.
No, not
So
at all.
yeah, I mean,
I should say Browns fans. It means more to Browns fans than it does to Buckeye fans.
To me, it's too much. It's too hard to compare. I don't have a good answer for you on that.
Okay.
So
The listeners can share their opinions.
Yeah,
'Cause I bet you a lot of the
absolutely.
listeners are Browns and Buckeyes fans. Like, we're obviously biased on that standpoint because we don't.
you don't care about Ohio State,
Yeah.
right? So it's tough to say.
Jordan,
Back
by the way, I wanted to before we going back to the Ohio State Michigan game.
sure.
Did you know the spread on that is exactly 20.5?
Shut up. Is
I
it
was
really?
completely unaware. Honest to God,
Buck-
That's
Buckeyes.
crazy.
And you picked them to win by 21 plus. So basically, you're just taking the Ohio State spread.
yeah,
You
but
should work.
again,
You should
It's
work in
ridiculous.
Vegas.
That
but
is
again, I was
ridiculous.
completely unaware
Look
of.
at Jerome, side gig in Vegas.
But no, I didn't know that. But again, like I said, I'm guaranteeing 21. Yeah, I'll look right in the camera.
Can you do something for me?
I hear that. Oh my gosh, I'm so over that.
But anyway, continuing talking about these college football games, South Carolina, Clemson, that's a great rivalry. And the winner of that probably has, well, not South Carolina, but Clemson, if they get it, they'll be in the playoff.
Oh,
huh?
yeah. If they beat South Carolina,
Clemson, yeah.
yeah.
So,
Yeah.
like I
That's
said,
a sneaky team to get in
to
there.
me, and the SEC
Yeah.
had a horrible weekend last weekend. But to the point you guys made about the rivalries and all that earlier, that's a tough game. Going to be a tough game for Clemson. But if they do win, I just don't see whether it's Alabama. Let's say they do win and I'm wrong, which very well could happen. I don't see how you could put a 3-loss team in this thing. I don't think it's fair.
I don't think it's fair either. But you got to think.
But if
the
there
name.
is somebody who it would happen, it would be an SEC team.
It's the
for
name.
sure- for
It's
sure.
the name of the conference.
If Clemson beats South Carolina this weekend, which they should be favored in because it's in Death Valley,
Okay.
then it's gonna be a tough road for Bama to get in. They'd obviously need a couple things to happen, but yeah, I don't know.
I just,
Does A&M have any shot of beating the Longhorns?
no.
I think they
I think that's
I
going to
think
be
they
a
have a
closer game.
shot. I think they have a shot.
Really?
That's going to
yes.
be a closer game than people think.
It's a tough place to play. A&M's a tough place to play.
Kyle Field, the 12th man, is legit.
The house that Johnny
Absolutely.
built.
Yeah. No, that's
How's that's horrible.
no. In all honesty, I don't think A&M's going to win, but that is going to be a tough game for the Longhorns. Texas will pull away, I think, and end up winning it.
I do too.
But they're going to have to battle very, very hard to, win that game. But I do think Texas is too good.
Yeah, I think Texas is too talented. Also, I don't know how much, honestly, at Kyle Field helps considering their teams both located in Texas.
Right.
So I don't know if it's as big of an advantage as I had just said about 15 seconds ago because I just kind of rethought it. But
Yeah, I still think
I still think you're going to have more A&M fans than
for
Longhorns
sure.
fans, obviously. I think it's probably going to be – I think it's going to be, like, relatively close, though. I could see, like, a 70-30 split.
okay. I don't know. I don't know how many Texas fans will be able to get their hands on tickets because, like we said, A&M has a strong following.
They do. They
So-
do, which is kind of – it's I mean, it's a random team, but it's not at the same time. You know?
down.
It's kind of a weird team. What?
Horns down. That's what they're going to be doing.
Yeah, they will. They'll be letting everybody they will. They'll be doing this
Horns
like the
down.
No,
entire
but, and to your point, I mean, Johnny Mania was crazy and all that, but even in their down years, that place still gets crazy. When they had some real bad years there with Jimbo Fisher, that place is still a rockin' big time.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, it's a tough place to play.
It's a big football state. Like,
Oh, it's
Oh,
yeah,
it's-
maybe the biggest.
the breeding field of
yeah, it might be
football players.
it might be one of the biggest football places in the country.
Oh, yeah. You see their high school stadiums? They're
Oh yeah.
bigger than like NFL stadiums. It's
They're,
crazy.
they're basically like bigger than most MAC stadiums to give it a
Yes.
local perspective.
Yeah,
on it.
actually, that's
yeah.
that's a
It was-
good comparison.
Yeah.
I think it's Allen, Texas. Their high school stadium is bigger than the Cincinnati Bearcat Stadium.
I believe
crazy.
it.
Yeah,
I believe
that
it.
too.
It's crazy.
I believe that too. But honestly, I mean, going back to over the past week for college football, getting back on track there were some big upsets. You know, I did not see Kansas beating Colorado at all.
No, I think Colorado's overrated, and to be perfectly honest with you, I was buying into the hype last year, but if Prime's not the coach there, are we really even talking about the Buffaloes that much? Probably not.
No,
Probably not.
No, but they do have two of the best players in the country, so I think that alone I was hoping for viewership that they were going to get into the playoffs, and the only reason is I wanted them to have to face the 5 or the 6 seed and just get shellacked. I was kind of hoping to see a national shellacking of that team for how cocky that team is, for not really accomplishing anything other than saying that Deion Sanders is your dad or coach. I kind of wanted to see them get shellacked.
Well, yeah, again, the arrogance is
There.
through the roof there over there. And, I mean, that's Prime, though. That's who he is. And
Oh,
he
yeah.
doesn't shy away from it. And they always say a team adopts the coach's personality, and that's happened there. And it might actually be a detriment to them.
Oh, I think it is.
overall.
I think they walk around. I think they walk into every game with a huge target on their back because they're known just for taunting. What game did they win last year? They won it by like 3 points, and Shador was
Oh my gosh.
was flashing his watch at the fan base, and it
Yeah.
wasn't even like a prominent school.
Yeah,
it was just
I
a
forget-
random.
I forget which one that was.
I forget what school it was too, but it's like, dude, who do you think you just won in like overtime? I think
Well,
it was.
Did you see that Colorado picked up the number 1 recruit in the state or in the country
I did see that.
for high school?
I think it. Yeah, I saw it was like a top 3 recruit.
I don't
think
know
the
if it's number one because number one, we could talk about that
Yeah,
if we wanted to get into the weeds on that.
Michigan just paid
Oh,
like $12 million
Oh,
for
you're
him.
right. Okay, yeah, because I saw he was
Something
on the
ridiculous.
Pat McAfee show that
Yeah.
he committed to Colorado, which I just feel like, to your point, that Colorado's just kind of overrated. Like you're going there for Prime, not for.
Well, and that's fine. I mean, that's the whole reason they hired Prime, because you hire Prime, you're guaranteeing yourself. There's kids in this country. I want to go play for Prime. And that's the whole reason that they brought him in, and from that point of view, it's worked. But again, they don't seem to be able to win the big game, and when they get put to a real test the last 2 years, they don't deliver.
You know what actually might be a hot take now that I think about it? I think a lot of these top players are starting to think about going to Colorado, literally just because of what you just said, because you're going to be playing for Deion Sanders, obviously, but you can play these lesser talented schools, look amazing, and there is zero pressure on you to win.
Well, then they're just gonna get humbled real quick.
But there's zero pressure on you
you're
to
right.
win. You just face lesser talent, but no one's expecting Colorado to go in and win a
No,
national
not at
championship.
all.
At all.
It's just
You get to show out at your one position, and then when you're locking somebody down, you can blame the rest of your team for your struggles.
That's so frustrating though, because that's so detrimental to their talent bleeding forward, like to grow, to be able to prepare for the NFL, because that's just like a disadvantage to them. I get what you're saying completely, but it's just like in the long term I look at it, it's like, okay, you're gonna go to Colorado, show out, not get humbled at all, not have the growth to become something that you want to be in the NFL, because you're gonna get shown up by. But it's just frustrating from my standpoint of view, like what I'm saying.
Yeah, no, 100%. I mean,
I get what you're saying.
Colorado as a team has gotten humbled. I don't think Travis Hunter and Shador Sanders have, though.
No. That'll come in the NFL.
Yeah,
Oh, that'll
that's
come in the
my
NFL.
whole point.
Yeah.
This
Oh,
is-
yeah.
Do you think so? Shador Sanders, we can go, obviously, a very efficient quarterback. Do you think when it comes to Travis Hunter, though, because he's probably, it sounds like he wants to play 2 positions, which I think at that point, I don't think he's going to be elite at either if he's playing 2 of them in the NFL. I think he's going to be one of those where it's a jack of all trades, but you're a master of none type of situation.
So here's what I think is going to happen. Point blank. Travis Hunter is going to get to training camp.
Yep.
He's going to try it for a week. It's not going to work. Whoever drafts him, the head coach is going to say, Travis is either going to play DB, Travis is going to play receiver. That's the way it's going to be. It's not going to last long.
Yeah, which if you're drafting somebody that high, I'm hoping for a lockdown corner rather than a dynamic receiver.
I think it depends. It depends on the team and the need.
Well, sure, it depends on the team and the need, but I'm saying if you're starting a foundational, like if you're starting a franchise and you want a cornerstone pillar, you're picking a lockdown corner over a dynamic receiver, I think.
Yeah, I agree.
Do you think his cockiness is going to get in the way of what he wants?
No, because I think the NFL humbles almost everybody.
Repeat that, sorry.
The NFL humbles almost everyone.
Yeah, but I'm saying him going into it, his cockiness is going to kind of get him not in trouble, but kind of put a sour taste in a lot of teams' mouths if like they want him for one thing and he doesn't.
I don't think so. And the only reason I say that, we saw Lamar Jackson. We had teams trying to try him out at receiver on running back, and he was like, "Nope, I'm a quarterback."
Seriously, I didn't know
Yeah,
that.
when he came out, teams were trying him out at the combine at receiver, running back, and he was just like, "I'm a quarterback. I'm
was
not."
he QB just at Louisville?
Yeah.
Yeah, he wasn't a running back or receiver there. A lot
Yeah,
of teams just felt like there hasn't been a player that dynamic at that position since really Michael Vick. And even I would say Lamar Jackson in terms of a runner is a better runner than Michael Vick was. So a lot of teams wanted to basically, they didn't want to run a quarterback draw or a quarterback running system. They'd rather just get him the ball at receiver or at running back and have him work.
I didn't know that. That's interesting.
Yeah, so there was that, and then
I couldn't.
yeah, I was thinking of another situation too, but I can't pinpoint it right now.
I mean, the Tebow thing, when he was coming out, it wasn't, some teams weren't thrilled about him as a quarterback, but that's going
Yeah, they tried him out
way
at tight
back.
end, and yeah. So I don't think
It's happened.
Yeah.
And
You want to talk about a man of all trades, Tim Tebow there going into the MLB.
Oh, yeah.
Oh yeah, I mean that was a whole
Wow.
thing.
All right. Well, that'll just about do it, right?
Yeah.
Oh, actually, can we talk about Arizona State beating BYU? That's kind of sad. I'm kind of low key rooting for BYU.
I was happy to see Arizona State beat him. I'm not gonna lie. I didn't want to see BYU sneak into the playoff and get shellacked by a 5 seed. So it was nice to see Arizona State win. They still have a chance at the playoff to sneak in, but yeah, I think that's pretty much just all we wanted.
Yeah,
to touch
Arizona
on, huh?
State does have an outside shot looking in. They need to be their rival, Arizona. Great weekend in college football coming up. We have the NFL Thanksgiving slate. So want to wish all the listeners a happy Thanksgiving. And we will absolutely be back next week to recap it all. Alex, thank you for filling in for me.
Thanks for having me.
Oh, absolutely. Kevin, good job holding down the fort.
Yeah, thanks, and Jerome, thanks for coming. Obviously, it's not
Well,
like,
it's my job. I mean,
well, yeah, no, but I mean, I'm saying like a half hour into it, it's not like you had to come, but we're glad you did. You contributed a lot, and I think it was we had some good conversations. So to the audience listening, obviously, please comment on the episode, tweet at us at CLE Sports Realm, message us questions, arguments you might have that you either agree or disagree on. Be sure to like or favorite it. Hit us with the follow and definitely turn on those notifications. It helps you not miss any episodes and also helps us be able to grow. So appreciate any and all the support that you give us. And go Browns, go Tribe,
Go Cavs.
go Cavs. Happy Thanksgiving.